started. Okay. Good morning to all the parents that are here with us on Saturday. Some windows are still closed. Hopefully you're going to be open soon. And the topic is freedom and responsibility today. I'm going to be starting explaining a little bit about freedom in the Montessori classroom and the responsibility that it comes with the freedom that we expected from the children. I'm going to introduce myself for the ones that don't know me. And my name is Paulette. I am from the Sunflower community. And I believe I'm also going through the process of learning freedom and responsibility in the new environment. I just moved to Texas, Austin, Texas. So freedom is basically this internal capacity to make a choice. And I did make the choice of coming to Texas. And then I do have the responsibility, which is the external capacity, to make it happen, to be successful. And basically, this is the same thing that the children are going through right now in the Montessori classroom. And before diving into it, I would like for some of you to introduce yourselves, starting with the other two YCC teachers, so we all get to know each other and be more familiar. So go ahead and let me know when you're ready.
Okay. I'm Jen. I'm in the Poppy community. I also have a daughter in Miss Paulette's class. Is that all that you want from me?
Yes. Okay.
And my daughter's Olivia.
Yes. And Tristan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miss Tristan. I'm in the Lily community. And I, a very long time ago, had two children in the YCC. My children are 13 now. And they were in the YCC back when Miss Whitney was still a teacher in the classroom.
Okay. So I think we're going to start with a presentation, and hopefully you'll enjoy it and learn a lot about it. And at the end, we're going to start, taking some questions and, expanding as much as we can. And definitely Maria Montessori talked a lot about this sense of freedom, which is essential for the development of the children in the classroom. And through this freedom, they're going to be able to reach this level of success and accomplishment that lives in the classroom, and to see that I did it feeling and I can be more independent. It's going to provide them with the independence to move around, to find who they are, and to grow and learn, respecting who each child is, because they all have different ways of learning. But definitely freedom and independence, they are connected. They are partners all day long through the environment, through the classroom environment. This freedom and independence is not a license. It's not a passport. It's not going to allow them to do whatever they want to do. It comes with limitations which are going to help them, their guides, steps. And these limitations are going to help them go through the environment with three basic areas in mind: respect of the self, respect of the environment, and respect of the materials, and respect of others, including teachers and peers. So it's not my way or no way. It's a way in which we all have a structure, routines, schedule to follow. Of course, this is flexible. It's going to be open and closed like borders. You got your passport, but we have a border. So show me your qualifications, and then you can go through it. Basically, that's the main area. There are three basic freedoms in the Montessori classroom: freedom to move, freedom to choose, and freedom to repeat. But these three freedoms come with responsibility. Again, they are like a marriage. You cannot have freedom without the responsibility. In the freedom to move, they can move around the classroom, but however, they have to be very careful and respectful of other children. If they want, maybe they want the material that another child is using and they move around because they want it, and they stand next to the other child that is working and wants to grab it. No, they have to learn. You can move, you can observe, but you have to be respectful. You have to wait your turn. And that's the way that they have to learn not to destroy the order that is around the environment, because there's always order. Montessori was all about order. There's freedom to choose as long as they have the responsibility to start and complete. And this is not structure, because it depends on the age, it depends on the level of development. So, but they have the sense that you're going to start an activity, you're going to complete an activity, and you're going to have support of the teacher and the guides. And let's see if you can do it by yourself. What are the necessary steps to accomplish? Because the goal is always to accomplish. The sense of the accomplishment is going to be the sense of success. The sense of success is going to be the sense of learning and growth and independence. And then the freedom to repeat. We can observe in the classroom that maybe a child will come in the morning, they already have a plan of the activity that they're going to use that day. And they're going to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And teachers are going to observe and observe and observe. And that is allowed because the child is mastering, the child is generalizing the information to develop a necessary skill related to that work in particular. When they switch to another work and repeat, that's another skill they're developing. So we have to be respectful of that. There's nothing wrong with repetition. On the contrary, we learn by repetition. You know, it's like in ballet. We learn by repeating and repeating and falling and standing up. It's the same in life. Life is like a choreography. You keep doing your steps and steps until you master it. So that's what the child is doing. When we tend to stop the repetition is when you observe that the child is already like, is not being productive because he's overwhelmed, tired, and then he doesn't have the words to say, I'm tired, I need a rest, please help me. So you need to learn how to observe, respect their privacy, but then help them say, I see you're tired. Let's close this work, even though sometimes it's going to be a big tantrum like, no. And you go, I understand. Let's close it for a while. We're going to put it here. And when you're ready, you come back. That is the freedom and that is the responsibility. You have the freedom to choose, but you have the responsibility to accomplish. And maybe this seems like very broad and it's not age appropriate. It is age appropriate. It is beautiful. It is beautiful when you start seeing children behaving like that, and they love it. You see this sense of self-accomplishment that is amazing. Then that's when Maria Montessori talked about you stepping out and staying out, and everything becomes a silence, and they're concentrated. And that's it. That's what we're looking for right now. This concept of responsibility comes gradually. It's not from, okay, we're going to start today and it's going to be accomplished tomorrow. It comes gradually, and you have to keep repeating and repeating for that freedom to emerge. And let's see what else. They also apply this to their own behaviors. When they start reaching this level of responsibility, They start applying to the behavior, they start controlling their moves, their impulses, and then we start seeing an amazing behavior around the classroom. So the sensitive period for order, which is very necessary for freedom and responsibility, starts in the first stage of development, which is from birth to 6, which is early childhood. And this is a period where Maria Montessori called the observant mind, which means the brains are like sponges and they absorb everything that they're seeing in the classroom environment. And then this must be constantly modeled and practiced until it becomes a routine. And that's what basically in the classroom is all about, a routine. And then they know exactly what is expected daily for them to perform in a responsible and free way. And they reach this level of competence through repetition. Consistency and repetitions, and also with the help of the teachers, which is always showing them, helping them, and giving them the time to complete the specific tasks, such as washing up after snack, making the cut, selecting and putting work away, cleaning. And this work that the children are doing should not be done to the teachers or adult expectations. We have to observe the level the child is in and then respect that. So it's not expectation, it's just following what each child needs. Again, the gift that we can give the children is the feeling of achievement and control. I can achieve in life, I can control my actions, I can control my behaviors, I can be much better during the day, I can be accepted by my friends, I help to sustain a beautiful environment, and then learning starts to emerge. And this requires multiple steps. I'm just going to give you an example of an activity for the child in the classroom that they need this freedom and responsibility. So you'll see how many steps they have to go through. Imagine this. They have to make the decision to paint. They have to decide what paper to use. They have to attach it to the easel. They have to choose the colors to use. They have to paint the picture. They have to take the picture of the easel. They have to put it out to dry. They have to wash materials. They have to dry materials. They have to clean the easel. We're talking about 10 steps that they have to do. So that's the level of freedom attached to this responsibility. And they can accomplish it. It's not a thing that is going to be at the first couple of months, but we start to see those type of steps already, but they need the guidance of the teachers and the assistance of the teachers consistently. This is a non-stop environment, but they really will complete the 10 steps. And each step requires a different skill and different procedures. And it involves a lot of problem-solving skills, remembering, thinking, applying, and physical skills. All those are included in only one activity with multiple steps. So, and as adults, as teachers, we have to make sure the environment is prepared in a nurturing, loving, beautiful, respectful, orderly environment for all these steps to be completed. So then the child starts to learn the beauty around them. And Maria Montessori said a quote, which I love, and it says, "The greatest gifts we can give our children are the roots of responsibility and the wings of independence." And then they can fly. And then they're going to be flying And that's for the future. This is not only for, I say, this is a marriage for 10 months, but this is for the future. This is not for 10 months in school. This is for the future. So basically, this is a general idea of freedom and independence. It's a lot of information. It seems very complex, but it's very simple. It's just like the roots. These are the roots for life. It's like the roots for the tree to stand still in the face of adversity. The roots of responsibility and freedom are those. Then the child can stand in life, sure of himself, of who he is, and then accomplish whatever adversity comes to life. And they have those wings to fly and be the person who they're supposed to be. And they're going to find that through freedom and independence. So that's it. We have a video about freedom and independence. So if Tristan, if we can do that.
Sure. The last time I tried to share a video, the sound didn't work. So once I turn it on, I'm just going to check back and just see if everyone can hear it.
All right.
Okay. Can everyone hear it?
No.
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay. Does anybody know how to get the sound to work when you share a screen?
No, but if you want, we can keep with the presentation. We
Okay.
can keep going with the presentation and then try that at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still no? Okay. My apologies. I thought it was...
I just put the instructions on how to do it into the chat.
Oh, Where, what?
The chat, yeah. At the bottom.
Okay. Here, let me stop share real quick. Okay, in the chat. Got it, share computer sound. Thank you. Okay. Perfect, got it. Okay, here we go. Let's try this again.
Sense of freedom and responsibility as sort of capacities that we're nurturing within the children. But there are a number of other concepts and capacities that really play into the child's ability to develop freedom and responsibility that we need to have a clear understanding of. I've mentioned the will. And the will is the ability to make a decision and act upon that decision, or to not act, depending on the situation. That's the will that's controlling that. And the will is a real focus of the child's development before the age of 6. A lot of what, especially the 3 to 6 classroom, sort of builds around is how to help children control their wills and learn to manage themselves, without an external force on them, but just through experience in the environment and experience with the different activities. So this development of the will is really critical to elementary children coming in and needing to be able to practice freedom and especially responsibility. Now, to be able to carry out an action, to make a decision and carry it out, to really exercise the will, children must be able to do that. They must have the ability to do that. And so that connects to another important concept, which is independence. We want children to really master varying stages of independence in their development. In the first plane, we focused on that functional physical independence, that they can move their own bodies and speak and all of those things. That's the real focus of the child's development under the age of 6. And in the elementary years, our focus on independence is more along the intellectual independence. Can they find the answers to their questions? Do they have a broad knowledge base? That sort of thing. So that's our focus in the elementary years. In the third plane of development, we have a child that's focused on social independence. Where do I fit in society? How does society work? Can I navigate and find my place in it? Finally, then in the fourth plane of development, we hope that this young adult is establishing economic independence so that through their lifetime of development, they've been able to functionally be independent, move their own bodies, and intellectually and socially. And then finally, they can, pay their own bills and fully participate in society. So this independence is important because while you can be independent and not free, have your liberty bounded in some way, you cannot be free without being independent, without being able to do things yourself or ask for the help that you need. So this supportive independence is really important as we're asking children to develop freedom and responsibility, because if they don't have the independence, they can't exercise freedom and responsibility. This leads us to another idea. Montessori talked a lot about discipline in her writings and her work with children. And when we hear that word discipline, we tend to think of sort of adult external control, perhaps punishments. That's often the traditional mindset around the word discipline when it's, relates to children. And the issue with that is that if we are thinking about adult control and adult imposition on children, that means that the child has to be sort of externally motivated, often by fear, toward particular behavior, and they aren't internally motivated to exercise that control. So what Montessori is talking about when she talks about discipline is she's talking about a self-discipline, one that children develop inside of themselves, over themselves. And basically what she found was that this self-discipline only emerges in an environment where the children are free to make their own choices, that discipline and freedom are very closely connected. When there's too much adult external control, children will not be able to exercise that self-discipline when the adult isn't there. And so the children need the freedom to practice controlling their wills and building self-discipline in their classroom environment. So that self-discipline, we hope, has been nurtured under the age of 6, and it's something we continue to bring to the children's awareness in the elementary as they're exercising freedom and responsibility, because self-discipline is necessary for both of those capacities. And that sort of relates to another idea that Montessori really developed in children under the age of 6, this ability for obedience, to be able to not only control their own will, not only be able to develop past an impulse action, but to being able to control themselves and follow through on things, but also to be able to listen to directions and follow those. And then beyond that, to recognize that the adult has some of these directions in place for the, the good of the community. And so that the child can start to see that actually some of this obedience and resisting their own wills is really for the good of the whole community. And that's the obedience level we hope they've achieved by the time they come into the elementary, because when they have a sense of obedience in that way, then they really can judiciously exercise their freedom and responsibility. So these ideas of the will, of discipline, self-discipline, of independence and obedience, all of these need to be supported in the child's development so that they can fully exercise their freedom and responsibility in the elementary classroom.
I need to apologize
How?
because I was listening to it and hearing her talk about freedom and responsibility, and that was the wrong video.
Yes.
So I had looked it up in my email and found the right video, which we can email to you. So, but this information is all pertinent to what we're talking about today.
But it was related. It
Oh,
was
sorry, let me. Okay.
okay. But it was very much related to what we were talking about, freedom and independence. And
Yes.
so if teachers have something to add, Tristan, Jen, to the topic.
Not right now.
Okay. Parents have any question about freedom and independence? Anything? Brainstorm ideas. It's about having a structured environment, a beautiful, appealing environment, consistency, and repetition, limits with love, consistency, and let's try again, and let's try again, and let's try again. And then they're gonna dance in life. They're gonna be like prima ballerinas, dancing.
I
Yes,
have a question, if that's okay.
yes.
Do you have some tips on how do you practice this at home?
Well, again, we can send some ideas, but in general, at home, it will be more or less the same. It doesn't matter the environment the child is performing. It's just providing the quality of a structure, an environment that the child knows what's expected. Again, it's not a free environment that you can do, because people get confused with the concept of freedom. It's like, yeah, do whatever you want. No, they need the guidance, they need the steps, they need for them to know what is expected. Again, freedom is this capacity to make a choice. That's great, make a choice. That's your free will that she was talking about. The free will to make a choice. But then you have the responsibility to accomplish and complete it in anything, just whatever, getting a toy out of, if you have a shelf, I don't know if you have a Montessori environment or a box, you take the toy out. Okay, fine. That means you want to work with that. You want to develop a skill related to that activity in particular. But don't let the child just stand up, leave that material out, make a mess of another one, the second toy out, the third toy out, the fourth toy out, because what the child is basically happening is the child is going to be overwhelmed. Too many things open, it's going to create like a very disorganized brain. And at this age, from 0 to 6, it's like that. Let's help the brain. We're planting seeds. So when you plant seeds in a beautiful soil that is ready to grow, you take care of that soil. You remove the weeds. So basically that's what we're doing when we're saying, put this work away and then you can choose another work and let's do it together if you need help. It's removing weeds and putting the work away is that. And then choose another. You can choose whatever you want, but let's try. Again, it's not going to happen. It's going to be chaos. It's tiring. And I know parents, sometimes they don't have the time. We're talking about school. It's easier for teachers, even though it's tiring because we have 15, 16, 17. But you have to be like, as I say, nothing is going on. The world is falling apart. But let's try to model. It's about modeling the desired behavior. That's it. Model the desire. If you want a beautiful environment, tell them this is the way we do it. You can use the songs. This is the way we clean the home. And this is the way we put our toys away. And that's what we do. It's easy for me because I come from ballet, so I visualize it like a choreographer. Okay, this is a dance. This is the dance. Let's keep rehearsing. Let's keep rehearsing. For me, it's easy. I understand in the sense of that is also, it's a community. They're seeing the teachers, but they're seeing the children, the other children. So they want to join and they want to do the same. And then it becomes like a beautiful routine. So again, every home, every environment is different. Home, all of your environments are different. Whatever you think is going to work for your environment, but limits with love. Keep that in mind. Limits with love. When they have a tantrum, they're telling, please help me. It's not a poor behavior. It's just, please help me. Please help me organize my work. Please help me make a wise decision. Please teach me how to have a better behavior. Please help me because I'm having a poor behavior. All of that is happening. And that's the beauty about it. That's the beauty about it. So it's just prepare. Yes.
I have a question. So is everybody on here as children of the same age, 2, 3 years old? Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the right sort of, just, this is kind of the shifting from philosophy to how to application, I guess. And so when we're talking about at home reinforcing the behaviors around activities, so at this age, and for context, our son is just a few weeks into starting the Montessori environment. So what's the right level to reinforce these behaviors this early on? Is it, hey, we've started an activity, we must, we have to sort of encourage completion of that activity? Or is it, if he starts to shift his attention and wants to do something else, at the very least, let's stop, kind of put this stuff away before we move on to the next one? What do you think is the right balance at this stage?
Well, the right balance for me would be not having expectations, because as you say, the child is starting, but at least start modeling your desires and your wants for your home environment. Start modeling. If the child is, because again, it's about observing, getting to know your child. They're all different learners. So what I'm saying is not apply the same to your child or the other child or the other children in the classroom. But for a particular child that I already know a little bit about his temperament and his person or her personality, then I got that child. I guide that child in the sense like, it's not that they have to complete the test. That would be completely absurd, of course, because it's not age appropriate, but we're targeting that in the long run. For example, if they start in August, September, I always say that by January. So we still have a lot of months of work. I would say that by January, the child is more or less into track, like, this is the way that I'm supposed to go. So, but at least if it takes one work, and then he wants to take another workout and mix 3 different, then that's when, that's when you start like, okay, let's see, which work would you like to do first? And let's put this away. It's not going to happen immediately. It's going to try again to mix, Then once maybe if the child is organized and you see like there he goes, there he is, then maybe he's already leaving this work on the side. Don't put it away. But if the child is already starting to ignore one and paying more attention to the other, concentrate on that one. And then gently and smoothly, like nothing is going on, once he is into the one work, because the concept is for the brain to be there. Concentration, concentration, attention, concentration. That's what we're working, concentration. And then keep the other one next to the child, but not like all crazy. Again, it has exceptions. If the child is mixing, let's say, for example, 2 types of blocks to build something, that is perfect. That is perfect. He's creating. Again, I think that the word that will be the sentence. If the child is creating and not destroying, that's it. I think that will be my closure. Create, not destroy. So if you want to mix 2, fine. You're creating, great, beautiful. But that's what I'm talking from experience, from my classroom. If you're going to create something, show me. That's the responsibility. You have the freedom to choose 2 different blocks and the cars. And then the child takes 3 different toys and they bring them to the center of the rug. And I'm observing. And then I see that the child is creating. No. So that's why it's not a discipline that, as the lady was saying. It's just, are you going to create? Are you going to destroy? Destroy means taking 3 boxes of blocks and the cars and the trains and then just and a mess and the mess and the child running around. That's what's not allowed. But for creation, again, you can take, I have a child that loves art and takes all the colors, all the brushes, all the papers, sit around in a table, make a mess, I don't care. But the child is concentrated. He's attentive to what he's doing and he has a plan. He has a plan. I don't mind. And then it's completely full of red. I don't care. That's the beauty. It's a Picasso. It's Picasso working in his workshop. But the brain is there. That's all. The brain is there. Because if not, the child is saying, please, Paulette, help me. I don't know what to do with all these gifts. Please help me. I'm opening all the boxes and I'm confused. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if I answered the question. Thank you. Anything else?
Ms. Paulette, hi, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Hello. This has all been really helpful. I think an area with Savannah that I'm starting to see, she's an only child right now. And so it does really help a lot to be at school and be socialized with other children her age. What I'm starting to see though is that she's very opinionated, right? She's confident. And when she's playing with a toy, it's her toy, and she has a hard time sharing. And so my question is, are there phrases that we can use, at home, so we can keep reinforcing, sharing? And so I guess there's times when she's already playing with the toy, and then someone else comes up and she's like, no, hold on, this is mine. So that's kind of one scenario. It's already kind of claimed to be hers. And the other is someone else is playing with it and she wants that toy. And so she comes up and she wants to have that, right? So we're working really hard on, hey, that's not yours right now, take your turn and be patient. But anyway, just wanted to see if you have phrases that you're like exact kind of phrases so that we can say the same things at home.
Well, again, the sharing is, I'm not sharing, let's say, it's mine, as I say, that they have only one rule, it's mine. No, if I say it as I post it, if I say it's mine, if I touch it, it's mine, if I'm playing with it, it's mine, if I like it, it's mine, and that is okay, it's mine. So when, for example, when Savannah is working with the toy and a friend comes and she goes like, no, because she's a leader, she's strong, she has a strong personality. And so we have to work around that. She has a loud, strong voice. So right now we're giving her the words like, my work, please wait for your turn. Those are the, my turn, wait for your turn. Now I'm trying to teach them also to say, not to Savannah because she's working, to the other child to say, Savannah, can I join you? So, and the other child will say, Savannah, can I join you? And Savannah will say basically, no, no, like that. And I said, Savannah is saying no right now. Maybe you can come in 5 minutes. I use the 5 minutes. They don't understand time,
Right.
but that's preparing the brain for a transition, because the transition means maybe the child is going to come back in a couple of minutes and ask again.
Right.
And maybe it's not going to happen the second or the third time, but maybe the fourth time it will happen. And then from this moment on, Savannah is going to be working with others. So basically, is when she has the toy, is my word, please wait for your turn. I'm not done. I'm not finished. Thank you, but no thank you. I say thank you, but no thank you. And then when another child is using the word and Savannah wants to work, and she comes immediately and grab it because, it's my world and it's mine. I go, okay, Savannah, personal space. First, let's try use their words. Can I join you? So that will be the moment for Savannah to say, can I join you? So it's transferring the positions, the acting differently.
Right.
Can I join you? How long are you going to take? Are you going to take 5 minutes? I love to introduce 5 minutes concept. It's like calming the brain, calming the brain. Can I join you 5 minutes? So it's just modeling, just giving them the words because they don't have it. And this age is not about sharing, but we do want to introduce that. And if they don't want it, that's okay. Wait for your turn. She's saying no, or she's saying yes, no. So that's it. It's very simple. It's fun. And, but yeah, that's
I was
it.
hoping I could add something to that too. So at school, the work that we use is different than what the children are using at home that is genuinely theirs. And for play date specific things, when I was doing my training, they kind of compared it to being an adult and having someone come up and be like, hey, can I have the keys to your car? Can I go take your car for a drive? And you'd be like, what? That's my car. Why do you want to take my car out for a drive? So for a child, it's kind of the same thing, like, that is mine. Why are you taking it from me? And so sharing isn't an expectation at this age because they're not understanding of what that means and if they'll get it back. And so in the classroom, like Paulette said too, another way I word things is, oh, can your friend use it when you're done? And or just model that, oh, when they're finished, you can have a turn with it. And sometimes they like to see the cause and effect, like, oh, when I'm done, they can use it. And sometimes they'll just hand it right over, like, oh, here, I'm done with it. Just to see what happens with it. It's almost like they just want to test it to see if it works. And then sometimes they'll pass it back and forth and they're realizing, oh, when I'm done with it, they use it. And when they're done, I can use it again. And so again, it's also modeling that, when, just the cause and effect, when something happens with another child and they see that, they can get their turn back, they feel more comfortable and secure in making those decisions.
Thank you.
Okay. So then we'll go to the second topic. All yours.
So I will be talking about fostering independence. It's pretty self-explanatory, fostering independence. I did break it down in like 5 ways, I guess, but they kind of overlap also. A lot of them do overlap. So fostering independence. So helping your child through the I can do it myself phase. This is definitely the time where they are going to want to do it all by themselves, which is totally natural. This is the time where they're trying to build their independence. They're trying to build themselves. And they see you do it by yourself. They want to do it by themselves. So it's completely natural, but helping them through that stage is like small ways, is giving them the extra few minutes to get their clothes on. If you know you leave at this time, at a certain time every day, allow yourself 5 extra minutes so they can put their shoes on, or allow them 5 extra minutes to put their shorts on. It may be a little frustrating, and don't get me wrong, I'm a parent of a toddler myself, and it can be a little like, oh, well, we have to go somewhere. But allowing yourself those extra minutes, that builds their confidence to do it themselves. And when you're not giving them the pressure to do it, like, oh, we have to leave at this time, we have to leave at this time, that frustrates them, and that gives them like this self of like, oh, like I'm flustered, I can't do it. And then they get upset. So giving them those extra minutes to do things really do help through those, I want to do it myself. Also, during that phase, dividing and conquering tasks is a great way. So let's say your child is putting on a shirt that has buttons. You can say, oh, let you put your arm through the hole, I'll help with the buttons. So you're dividing the tasks so they feel like, oh, I'm doing it myself. Mom's just helping, or dad's just helping with this part, but we're doing it together. We're doing it. They have one responsibility, I have one responsibility. Also, let me see, sorry. I'm not used to talking like a lot of people. Yeah, dividing and conquering on tasks is a great way to do that, and getting them involved. So just anything around the house is really a great way, which again, we'll go into a next thing. So just on them wanting to do it themselves, allowing them those extra minutes to do it themselves, and then giving them kind of like I trust that you can do this. I want to help you also in the process. So what can I help you with on this part? Buttons are difficult for you, I'll do the buttons. You put your arms through the hole. Giving them those, like, giving them an out, like, okay, you're going to be there if I can't get this part done, but you have the confidence in me to do it myself. Perfect. It gives them that little bit of mind of like, okay, I can do this. So the next thing is ask questions. So how do you ask questions? Toddlers don't like being told what to do. So that is like one of the biggest things. And I understand if I tell my child, go get your shoes, it will sit there for the longest of time on what shoes, because she has all her shoes. So giving them switching the question to they get to choose in a confined manner, I guess. So getting dressed. Would you like the pink shirt or would you like the purple shirt? You're asking them a question and they're having that self of, I get to choose. I have the control on what shirt I want, without having the chaos of going into their drawers and having all the options. So then they sit there for the extra minutes, and it can be frustrating for you because you're adding extra time to your getting ready list. But then it's just like it can become chaotic with all the options. So giving them, okay, would you like to wear shorts today? Or would you like to wear a dress today? Or would you like to wear pants? Or would you like to wear shorts? That cuts off the question, like the big thing, I want shorts. Great. There's these 2 shorts that you can choose from. Would you like the purple shorts, the blue shorts? They have that self of like accomplishments. I chose this, I did this. You can do that with clothes. You can also do that with just snacks and food. Telling your child it's time to eat, okay. But they want to have that choice of what they want to eat. So you can say, would you like, it's time for breakfast. Would you like a bowl of oatmeal or would you like a smoothie? They have that sense of, okay, I have this choice. I wasn't told I'm having oatmeal today. I wasn't told I'm having this today. Okay, I want a smoothie. And then getting them involved in the smoothie process also is a great way to help with that independence, because they can see the process. They see what they wanted. They got a choice on what they wanted, and they got the end, like they got to see the whole process of it. So that is also a way to help foster independence, is the way you ask the question. Ask them questions, but have it more where it's a choice and not necessarily you're telling them what's happening to them, because they want to have that control on themselves at this time. So setting up a Montessori area at home, how to do it at home. A big thing is what we have in the classroom, which not everyone has, obviously, is we have lower shelves. We have small kid-sized tables, kid-sized chairs. Everything is at their level. So a big way to mimic that at home is having a table or a space that is just for them. Having a child-sized table or a chair where they know this is my space. If I come and eat, I can come and eat in this area. This is easy access for me. It is at their size. Also, a great way to do that is having, like, when you have their shelves, if they have a playroom, like Paulette said before, having too much stuff can be overwhelming for the children. So setting it up in a very organized manner, it takes work from us, but it gives them a sense of peace and like tranquility, and it's not chaotic for them. So if you have a shelf, only putting a few activities out for them and then having it at a rotation. So they have the sense that I chose this and I can go take it to my table, or I can take it to this special place of mine where I can do my activity at. And same thing for snacks and plates and cups. Having a cabinet at their level will be very beneficial for you and for them. If you have a designated space where they can go and grab, this is where they know this is where my plates are, these are where my cups are, these are where my utensils are, they can easily go grab it and have that sense of independence and just, like, again, control, because they want that. It will also help alleviate a lot of like battles that you may have with them. If you're having them to, if they're able to go do it themselves, you won't have to have that moment of, well, now I have to wait for you in order for me to go do this. I have to wait for you to do this, because they want to do things at their time. So having it available for them to go at their level, like I have a cabinet set up for my daughter with a few snack options, because she's a big snacker and I want her to actually eat meals. So I put a few snack options, and whenever she's ready, she can just go and grab her snack. She knows where her plates are. She knows where her cups are. So having that availability for them, where they know how to get things and where it's going to be, the consistency of where it's going to be at all times, is very beneficial for them to build that independence. They know I have my plate here. My snack is on this shelf. I can reach my own snack. I can put my own snack on my plate. So giving them those are some ways to set it up at home. I hope that was like understanding. I feel like I kind of like went from like a playroom to a like kitchen. So I hope that was good. Okay. So another thing is at this time, so another, I guess, way to help foster it is this is a time where we are to teach and encourage them to build these skills. So how to build these, a lot of the skills that they're learning at this point, because we range from 18 months to 3, is just like the basic common skills of we wash our hands when we eat. We do these things. So allowing them the opportunity to go wash their hands by themselves without us like right there on them washing their hands. You wash your hands, then you give them the opportunity to wash their hands. So they've seen you, you've modeled it for them. And now they are going to try to accomplish the same thing. Obviously, we can't just put small miniature sinks in all the houses. So having it readily accessible for them, having stools that can give them to the level that they need to be at. Learning towers are great for those things. They for the kitchen, or just stools for the restroom, to help them get to the sinks and do that themselves, to build those skills. Also, modeling utensil usage. Sometimes their hands just work better for them, but having a utensil there for them to use while you still use it, they'll start picking up those ideas of, they're using this, let me try it. And it can get frustrating because sometimes spaghetti with children, it's so hard with utensils. They don't understand the twisting method yet, but giving them those skills by you modeling the skills, they're able to see it, and then they will eventually try it themselves. Obviously guiding them into that direction, letting them know this is the time we wash our hands, blah, blah, blah. Wash your hands. Giving them the opportunities to do them themselves versus it being rushed for them again, and allow extra time. So I told you, a lot of them are going to overlap. I mean, the topic itself is pretty like fostering independence, but the time is something very big for children. We can take 5 minutes to do something. It will probably take them 15. Having that understanding that whatever task it is, probably add 10 minutes to it. Because if they're in that state of, I want to do it myself, they will do it themselves, and they are going to try, and they will ask. Eventually, you will either hear it with a tantrum of how upset they are, or you'll hear it with them saying help. And that is your cue to help. Always stand by with those extra, like when you have your time, be there, be coaching them through it. Oh, for pants are difficult, or underwear, because there's 3 holes. What do you do with that? So a big task, a big thing that I do to model with them is, all right, big hole, the hole with the tag, big hole, little hole, big hole, little hole. It sounds really like repetitive and sounds kind of like, oh, okay, but they understand this one's a bigger hole. There's 2 holes down here. Okay, big hole, then little hole, the big hole, then the little hole. So just keeping, that's like a way to foster, like giving them the words that they don't have yet, allowing that extra time to let them do it. And they might not do it right the first few times, but once you keep giving them the time and the patience, because it involves a lot of patience from parents. And trust me, I know I have a lot more patience at school than I do at home because I've done it all day. But patience is a big thing with toddlers. They need it from us. They can sense every emotion you are feeling. So when you give them that time and you've allotted that time, like, I'm giving them this extra time, your demeanor needs to be at a calm level as well, to give them that time of like, okay, I've given you 15 minutes to put 1 pair of socks on. Great. Okay. Coming in with that moment of, I have 15 minutes, I will be calm, and I will encourage them through the whole process. Trust me, I know it seems like outlandish, but when your demeanor is at a calm state, when you're giving them that extra time, they feel like they are able to do it themselves. They have like this pride, like they're trusting me to do it. I can do it. And you have given them a lot of time. So one big quote that I got from Maria Montessori was, help me do it alone. It sounds very basic, but help me do it alone. That is what children are thinking in their mind. They want your help, but they want to do it alone. Like, help me, give me the skills, give me the steps, model it for me, help me to do this on my own. They want to be independent. They want to have control of their lives and their tasks and what they do. So how can we help them do it themselves? It will alleviate a lot of battles if you are able to. A big thing with this whole fostering independence is giving them a lot of time. They are much slower at doing things than we are. So giving them that time, that respect, and not as much pressure on them to do it will really help a lot with them.
So what if, should we be pushing for, like getting dressed, for example, right? Even with patience, my son is like, no, Dad, do it. How much should we be encouraging them to lean into these tasks right now?
So I get that a lot too. A lot of things is, okay, one thing that I, at least in the classroom and at home, I'm like, okay, I will help you in one moment. And I like pretend like I'm doing a little task on the side. I'll be still close with them, but I'll be like, oh, let me fold this real quick. Can you try right now while I do this right now? But still being in the vicinity of them, and see if that works. Also, I try a lot with my daughter, because is fully capable, but she definitely likes to try to play me a couple of times or whatever. And she'll be like, Mama, you do it. And I'm like, oh, well, how about I show you how I do mine? You show me how you do yours. Or I'll give her the option. I'll still give her the option to do it, but with me like in this close vicinity. Because if I walk away, she'll just stay there with her like pants on the ground and not like, and I'm like, okay, well, so giving her like, I guess giving her the confidence to do it herself, but knowing that I'm still gonna be able to I'll still be close by if she really does genuinely need my help. Yes, did that answer the question? Okay, cool.
Jennifer, I have a question. I seem to be having some sort of an opposite problem with my son, Akash. To him, everything is his work these days, right? In fact, we didn't even understand the concept of work until he started saying it. And I gathered, oh, this was a Montessori term. So everything we do, it's now his work and he wants to grab it from us and do it, right? And he's also toileting now. So he wants to just keep flushing and flushing and flushing and continuously wash his hands, till the soap is over. I mean, I understand about being patient, but I guess at some point, do we need to draw the line somewhere? Otherwise, he's just standing at the sink and washing his hands forever, right?
No, absolutely. Because I mean, that's a water bill. Like that is realistically, yes. So I actually have like little timers. I mean, just like those little sand timers.
Yeah.
Giving them the freedom, but with a time frame is also okay. So I will put a timer on the sink, because if I walk away for too long, she will still be at the sink. So I put like a little timer, like, okay, you wash your hands. When the sand comes down to the bottom, we're all done. Let's dry our hands.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Giving them expecting them to do it themselves and letting them have the freedom to do it themselves, but letting them know there is an expectation, like Paulette said, like a responsibility. There is like a time you have to be done at this time, because, and I mean, mine's a little older. She's almost gonna be 3. So I mean, she doesn't know the concept of bills, but I'm like, well, if you keep running the water, Mom and Daddy are gonna have to pay a bigger bill. Like, I mean, it seems very like, she's like, oh, you have to pay a bigger bill. And then, so it's just giving a time frame, but then also kind of just explaining a little bit. Oh, if you wash your hands for too long, we'll run out of soap. Or if you are sitting here at the sink for too long, then the water will get too hot, or the water will get too cold. There won't be, giving them something at the end, so that they kind of have like okay, they're telling me I need to wash my hands, but now I'm like washing them and they're telling me now I can't wash them, giving them a reason for why there needs to be a time frame with it.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just want to emphasize that all this that we're talking about, it starts from an early age. They're capable of doing much more than we think. So please trust the child and they'll get there. And as Jen was saying, I'll add to her quote, which is in another words, basically the same, is don't do for the child what the child can do by himself or herself. So that means trusting, and they love when you trust them. Yeah. So, but let's start right now, because sometimes we think, oh, they're too young, they can't do it, let me do it for them. And no, they feel so proud of their accomplishments. And that's the beauty about the system of Montessori, which nowadays is applied all throughout the world in many areas: psychology, psychiatry, the brain. So it works. All right.
All right. Well, if no other questions, I'll move it on to Tristan.
All right, I'm going to talk about the 3 levels of obedience, which I found to be a really interesting Montessori concept. We have a short video to watch. It's about 4 minutes, and then I will delve in a little further into what this concept means and where we find toddlers. So I'm going to share the screen again, and I know what I'm doing now.
Typically, we see the conversation about obedience go with that of the will, because the will lays the foundation that allows the child to be obedient. Let's be clear on what obedience is. Very simply, it is when one is willing to comply with the request of another. That's it. We will see that obedience is very sporadic, almost impulsive at first for the child, but becomes more consistent as it is under the control of the will. We have to believe that obedience is a conscious choice. Today we see many children are motivated to comply through the use of rewards and punishments. This isn't healthy because it's a manipulation of the child. Their choice to comply isn't coming from within them. It's coming externally in the form of a prize or motivated by fear of punishment. Obedience develops in stages, and it can only be done with the will. To develop the will, we need that free choice, and we also need natural consequences. Observe when you see a child being disobedient, and ask yourself a couple questions. Do you see this behavior because the child just simply doesn't want to be compliant? Or are you seeing this behavior because the child can't comply with what they've been asked to do? They don't have the skills to be able to execute that request. With older children, they're going to tell you why they don't want to do what you're asking them to do, and that's fine. Listen to them. Perhaps you can come up with a compromise. But if this is a request that's a non-negotiable, let's say taking a shower, then you ask the child, when are they going to do it? Then at least they have some power and control over that situation. There are 3 stages of obedience. In the first stage, sometimes the child can obey and sometimes they can't. It's not consistent at all, and this is the stage that lasts the longest. So we have to adjust our expectations for obedience for this child, because sometimes they're not going to be able to do what we're asking, and sometimes they won't do what we're asking. And this is developmentally appropriate because they are still in that process of constructing the will. Then we have the second stage where we can choose to obey or we can choose not to. We have a developed will to where we can follow our own or we can follow the will of another. This is a conscious choice. So to help this child, we want to be offering a greater range of things to choose from and make sure that they have lots of freedom to be making those choices. This is also the level of obedience that most adults stay in for our entire lives. We can choose to be compliant. We can choose not to be compliant. Now, in the third stage of obedience, the child will obey gladly, happily, and readily. They're not going to question what you're asking them to do. This is a child with a very well-developed will that is also making this conscious choice because they legitimately want to help the adult. This is a stage of obedience that Dr. Montessori did not expect to see. But when we think about it, it makes sense because when we're working with children, we work very hard to make sure that we are showing them respect, that we are treating them with love and kindness. And this grows a very special relationship between the child and ourselves, and they really want to please us. So with a child that's in the third stage of obedience, they're always going to want to be our helper, and we have to be sure that we don't rely on them all the time, that when we need help, we ask many different children to help us, because we don't want to accidentally take advantage of this child's good-natured help just because they're always there ready and willing to do it.
All right, so just to reiterate, the first level of obedience is where a child can obey, but not always. So they have the will, but they do not have, oh, sorry, there's another video starting. I need to turn off. Okay. So they have the will, but not necessarily, they don't have the experience or the skill set yet. The second level of obedience is where the child can always obey. They can be directed not only by their own will, but by the will of others. So again, they have their own will and they are developing the experience and the skill set. And the third level of obedience is where the child is getting joy and pleasure from obeying without question. They have the will, they have the experience, and they have the skill set. So looking at all these levels, we can see that toddlers are in the first level of obedience. They can obey, but not always. So this is important for us adults to remember. I have a quote from Maria Montessori from the book, The Absorbent Mind, where she said, "In order to obey, one must not only wish, but also be able to obey. To carry out an order, one must already possess some degree of maturity and a measure of the special skill set or skill that it may need. Hence, we first have to know whether the child's obedience is practically possible at the level of development the child has reached. If the child is not yet master of his actions, if he cannot obey even his own will, so much less can he obey the will of someone else." So that's where we see toddlers are at when they are in our classroom. If they are listening to something, they're listening to their own development. So I thought it was kind of funny reading some of these articles, the things that we do see toddlers do, like dropping keys or phones or whole rolls of toilet paper into the toilet, or doing things like passing a set of stairs, any set of stairs, anytime, and they always have to climb it, no matter where you are. These things can seem to us adults as purposeless. They can seem impulsive, but for them, it's it's curious, persistent, demanding, but it's also, they're following this inner drive that's telling them to get up when they fall, when they're learning how to stand. They will keep doing it. They don't just give up after the first time and say, okay, I'm not going to stand. Or when they're learning how to speak, they will keep repeating things over and over until they have gained that ability. So in the stage that they're in, they're working toward the skill and the experience. And I thought it was interesting looking at this from an adult standpoint, where we ourselves can find in our adulthood that we can be at the first level of obedience when we try something new in our lives. For instance, if we try a new diet plan, or if we get a new job, or if we have a baby, we have essentially just thrown ourselves into a place where we have the will to learn, but we don't have any experience and we don't have any skills that we need to accomplish this, and we need to learn them. And so if we step back and can see that the child is in that same place, and to approach the situation with kindness and being gentle with them, with ourselves, that we're always continually growing. It will really help us to be able to be there for the child when they are going through this process. And there was another quote from Maria Montessori I wanted to share with you. And it is, "Small children who are making their first solitary efforts are very slow in carrying out their actions. Their life thus is ruled by special laws quite different from our own. Little children take great pleasure in performing slowly and deliberately many complex actions. For example, dressing and undressing, like what Jen was saying, cleaning up the room, washing themselves, setting the table, eating, and so forth. In all these activities, they are most pertinent, and they carry their laborious efforts to a conclusion, surmounting all the difficulties that confront an organism still in its formative state. But we, when seeing the child toiling and wasting time in doing something we could do in a moment and without the least difficulty, substitute ourselves for him and do it instead. We clothe and wash a child and take from his hands objects which he ardently wants to handle. We pour the soup into his bowl, feed him, clear the table. And after we have served him in this way, we judge him, as always happens when one patronizes another, as being awkward and helpless. We often look upon a child as being impatient simply because we do not have the patience ourselves to let him carry out the acts according to his own tempo, which is different from our own. So the independence ties into these levels of obedience as well, is that at this age, we do need to give the time for the child to develop the skills and the experience, and understanding at this age that they are not yet capable of doing this and that it will develop with time. So when a child comes into the toddler classroom, we are fully understanding they do not have the skills, they do not have the experience. And what we do as the guides in the classroom is we are modeling everything. We are speaking sometimes as we do things. I am going to sit here and I am going to put on my shoes because we are getting ready to go outside. Just preparing them for what is happening next, giving the language for everything we're doing, because as we've already said today, they understand so much more than we give them credit for, which is something that drew me to this age. I worked with 3 to 6 year olds for 12 years. And when I came into the toddler age and just experienced how much that they were capable of doing, and that you could tell a toddler something and they could go do it, it was just like, wow, they're really taking this in. So just knowing that they do want to learn, they do want to obey, they're just not there yet. So just kind of being what they describe in Montessori as the scaffolding for the child, giving them what they need in order for them to succeed. And that kind of ties together all 3 of the things that we talked about today. So I guess if anybody had any questions, I can answer those right now, but that's kind of wrapping up today what we are discussing. All right.
Okay, and I just want to remind parents, because I keep reminding myself every morning when I go into the classroom. We've been talking all about children, learning freedom and independence, but we also have the freedom and the independence every day to be responsible and model the behaviors that we want for our children, to be happy, to grow, to have self-esteem and self-assurance. So we also have to be very responsible with our choices and what we're modeling every day to the children. Yeah, because it's a team. That's it.
We'll also be sending out some resources that we had, that if you wanted to further look into any of these things that we found interesting. I'll also send out the correct video on freedom and responsibility, which is also on YouTube.
Have an amazing weekend.
All right, yes, thank you everybody for coming today.
If you have any questions, please send them by email.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
all.
Thank you.